Welcome to Beyond Sci-Fi. If you love stories of courage and mystery, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community. The jungle breathed with light. Every leaf pulsed with soft teal bioluminescence. Every vine traced patterns in violet and gold. The air tasted metallic and sweet, like ozone before rain. Overhead, the twin moons hung low, casting long shadows that twisted between the trees. The humans had been walking for hours, their boots crunching on unfamiliar ground, their translator devices clicking softly in the humid air. They hadn't expected to find anyone here. They certainly hadn't expected to find death waiting. The clearing opened suddenly, and there it was, the cub, small and broken. Its fur matted with something dark that caught the moonlight like oil. Its chest rose and fell in shallow, desperate gasps. Around it, the tribe stood in a semicircle. Massive forms that towered over the humans, even at a distance. Their bioluminescence had gone cold, dimmed to almost nothing. Grief radiated from them like heat. Behind the humans, 6 more warriors emerged from the trees, cutting off retreat. Spears gleamed, carved from bone, and tipped with obsidian that seemed to drink the light. The medic took 1 step forward and froze when every weapon in the clearing angled toward her heart. The cub whimpered a sound so small and lost it barely carried across the space between species. Its eyes, those impossible golden eyes, were glazing over. One paw twitched, reaching toward the nearest alpha, a towering figure whose antlers swept back like a crown of bone. The alpha's lips pulled back, revealing teeth meant for tearing, but the sound that came out was a keen of pure anguish. The translator couldn't parse it. Some things, the humans realized, needed no translation. The linguist's hands moved slowly, making the gesture they'd been taught weeks ago: peace, intention to help, no threat. The alphas didn't lower their weapons. Why would they? Every time the tribes had met before, blood had followed. Not always spilled by human hands, but spilled nonetheless. Accidents that looked like aggression, warnings that sounded like attacks, technology that seemed like sorcery. The gap between species was a canyon filled with corpses of good intentions, and now here they stood on opposite edges, with one more body about to fall into the dark. The captain raised his hands higher, weapon harness open and empty. 2 of the warriors shifted, spears angling. The cub's breathing changed, became wet, rattling. Its bioluminescent markings, the beautiful spirals that traced its spine and legs, flickered once, twice, then started going dark from the tail up, like lights in a city losing power district by district. The alpha with the crown of antlers made a sound that broke something in every human throat. It was the sound of a world ending. The medic didn't think. Thinking was the enemy of moments like this. She dropped to her knees so fast, her bones cracked against stone. Hands up, showing empty palms to every spear point. The warriors tensed. The captain hissed her name. No, not her name, her role. Always her role. Always her role, but she was already crawling forward, inch by inch, while 20 alphas watched with eyes that held entire galaxies of rage and grief. The cub's breathing stopped, restarted, stopped again. She was 10 feet away. 5. Close enough now to see the wound, a terrible crushing injury across the ribs where something massive had fallen or struck. Close enough to know, with her years of training and her inadequate human knowledge, that there was nothing she could do. The cub looked at her, really looked, with sudden clarity, the way that dying sometimes do in their last moments. Recognition passed between them, not of individuals, but of something deeper. Here was a being in pain. Here was a being who understood pain. The medic's hand touched soft fur, impossibly soft, and the cub didn't flinch. Behind her, every human held their breath. Around her, every warrior held a killing strike in check by force of will alone. She could feel the tension like electricity before lightning. She leaned down. The cub's forehead was warm, fever-hot, and the bioluminescent marks there spiraled in patterns that seemed to spell out words she'd never learn. The medic pressed her lips to that sacred space between the eyes, gentle as falling snow, and held there for a 3 count of racing heartbeats. The cub sighed a tiny, peaceful sound. Its markings flared bright, one final time, cycling through every color in its spectrum, blue to violet to gold to white, and then went still. Dark, the light gone from the world. The medic pulled back, tears streaming, and looked up into 20 faces of death. The alpha with the crown stood directly above her, spear raised, point down, ready to drive through her spine and into the earth. Its face was unreadable, alien architecture of bone and muscle that evolution had shaped for purposes she couldn't fathom. Then something changed. The golden eyes widened. The spear point trembled. Around the clearing, a sound rose from every throat, not anger, not rage, but something vast and terrible and wandering. The spears lowered. Not all at once, not in surrender, but slowly, like a forest bending before wind. The Alpha in front of her knelt, bringing that massive frame down, until they were almost eye to eye. It reached out one clawed hand, stopped inches from her face, and made a gesture she didn't understand. Behind it, another warrior touched its chest and forehead in sequence. Another brought its spear to its heart, then laid it on the ground. The translator devices went mad, trying to parse what was happening, throwing up words like honor and witness and family right and sacred passing. The captain stepped forward carefully, slowly, and knelt beside the medic. The linguist followed. One by one, the humans lowered themselves, making themselves small and vulnerable in a language older than words. The Alphas responded, antlers dipping, spears touching earth. In the space where the cub lay, the two species formed a ring around death and recognized, maybe for the first time, that grief was a bridge that crossed any void. Later, much later, after the rituals neither side fully understood, but both honored, the humans would learn what they'd done. That gesture, that kiss of farewell, belonged only to blood family and the tribes. It was the last benediction, the final release, given only by parent to child or mate to mate. By performing it, the medic had claimed the cub as her own in its dying moment, had taken on the weight of its loss, had told the tribe, without knowing the words, that she would carry this death inside her forever. The Alphas didn't forgive that would come later, or not at all, but they saw. In that seeing, something shifted. The spears stayed lowered. The humans walked from the clearing alive, the tribe watching every step. Behind them, the cub was wrapped in bioluminescent moss that would return its light to the soil. Years later, human children would play in those jungles, chasing alpha cubs under twin moons. They'd learn the gesture forehead kiss, sacred passing, and know it meant family. They'd know it started here, in blood and grief, when one human chose love over fear in the space between heartbeats, and an entire species learned that some languages are written in tears,